Hello friend, my name is Doombim and today we're going to be talking about Resident Evil Revelations 2. Resident Evil Revelations 2 takes place between Resident Evil 5 and 6 and was released by Capcom in an episodic format starting February 24th of this year before it got a physical release on March 18th. This review is for the retail version, which is something to keep in mind because I know that the full retail version has things that the digital download vanilla version doesn't. Resident Evil Revelations 2 starts out with Claire Redfield and Moira Burton, who are attending a party for TerraSave, which is a biohazard prevention agency, but then they get kidnapped by these masked dudes in helicopters. They wake up in a sort of prison/experimentation facility that is located on an island somewhere near Russia. When they try to escape, they realize that the weird bracelets on their wrists are actually these weird transmitters that relay their conversations and life signs to this person known as the Overseer. They escape the facility long enough to run to a nearby radio tower where they send out a distress call, which is picked up by TerraSave, but only months later. About 6 months. Barry Burton then sets out to rescue his little girl and his co-worker and arrives at the island just in time to find Natalia, a mysterious little girl with a supernatural ability to see the enemies or the infected through walls and across great distances. For the first time in a long time, I got to play a game where the characters actually felt real. They didn't feel like video game characters, they felt like people that were angry and scared. While this partially had to do with the excellent voice acting, I mean seriously, the girl who voiced Natalia deserves a damn award. This mostly had to do with the fact that the script was just excellent. This also was the first Resident Evil game in a long time I've played that wasn't chock full of plot conveniences, and I'm not saying that there weren't plot conveniences because you and I both know that would be a damn lie. But I'm saying that they were few and far in between. I'm also glad that Capcom went back to using journals and diaries to explain the background story. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like it just feels a lot more personal to hear the background story of what went on from the people who experienced it, the nameless, faceless characters that will seemingly never be important to the story. Another big plus was the option for the multiple endings, which was something I didn't even know about until I started writing this review. Because the option to change the story doesn't actually make itself known, you just kind of have to wing it and take the plunge. They were very different though, so if you get the chance to play this game, I highly suggest playing it twice and getting the extra endings because they're not even really remotely the same. One thing I didn't get though was how the virus affected the victims. I mean, there were some enemies that were like generic zombies where they're rotting and shambling towards you and chomping down on your shoulder, but then there were other enemies that just looked like weird, bulbous, mutated guys that were yelling at you and beating the crap out of you with giant wrenches. Even after reading all of the notes and the diaries left behind, I still don't really understand how the virus, which was like, I guess the T-virus mixed with Ouroboros, affected them. Also, how did Natalia know that Moira had died? I mean, she hadn't even interacted with the girls longer than like 30 minutes, and after that, after the helicopter crash, she just kind of was gone and she didn't talk to the girls ever again. So I don't understand why she was so insistent on telling Barry, hey, your kid's dead. And even Alex did the same thing. She brought up Moira's death. She was saying, yeah, I buried her. Your daughter's dead. And I don't understand why, because if anything, Alex should have been the only person to know that Moira was alive because her bracelet, like I said, it transmits conversations and it realized their biosigns. So why did Alex not know that Moira was still alive on the island? It's just these two big gaping plot holes that really never got filled. One thing I really want to say though is holy shit, Natalia's bonus mission is dark. Not only was Lottie talking about drowning herself and about just describing all of the dead bodies she found on the way, but they weren't even in the original game. They were added in for the dub. Like, damn, Capcom. This was the hardest part of the game to scale because I actually wasn't sure if the pros outweighed the cons. I mean, I thought it was great that you don't have to go and buy your weapons or you don't have to buy upgrades, because that was something that really bugged me in past games, because like I would be 100 pesos short of buying the next rifle. Instead, you actually just find them as the story progresses. As the story progresses, you find the better weapons and you can find the upgrades in chests, and it's just, you can upgrade everything and make your loadout how you want it to be at the workbench for free. Instead of gold though, you get battle points, which you get from finishing missions, defeating enemies, or getting various challenges done, such as finding 6 hidden items as Natalia or performing 4 sneak attacks in a mission. Those battle points are then used to upgrade your skills, such as reducing the amount of time it takes to use a green herb, improving Natalia's vision, make Moira's crowbar more effective, increase your knife attack power, and so on. Because of this, there are certain moves you need to unlock before you can use them, such as the follow-up, which was, run up, right trigger, and then you got them. Well, now you actually need to buy that, but because it's so far up in the tree, it's like by the time you actually need to start performing follow-ups, you already have it unlocked. In terms of unlocks you can get just by beating the game or performing various challenges, the game tricks you. It says that you unlocked it, but all that means is that you unlocked the ability to purchase it with your battle points. So when I unlocked Claire's classic outfit, I was like, oh, I'm so excited, but then I actually had to go and spend 10,000 battle points on it, which is a lot. Back to the skill tree though, I really enjoyed how you can unlock the ability for Claire and Barry to use their guns while they're in AI mode. This doesn't deplete your ammo reserves too, which just makes it that much better. In terms of the usefulness of the AIs in general, I think we can all agree that Moira was just this useless kid that just really didn't do anything other than complain. She sucked in combat even with the upgrades. She just mostly stood there. Natalia, though, was a total badass. I mean, she was just this 9-year-old little girl who would pick up bricks and throw them at monsters to stun them, and she could perform a follow-up that almost always killed the enemy. She was so cool! And in terms of Claire and Barry, I mean, they were average AIs. I mean, they aimed well, they shot well, but that could pretty much be said for anything. What I really hated about the game though was how it pushed you to play as the companion. With Claire, you needed Moira to focus her flashlight on the items. Like, as Claire, you could see the sparkling, but you weren't able to pick it up until Moira used her flashlight to focus on it, and then it would go ching, and then you could pick it up. And it wasn't like Moira had any usefulness beyond that, so you would just immediately switch back to Claire. When you're playing as Barry though, you can't even see the glint unless you are playing as Natalia. And I'm not joking. I mean, you'd be playing as Natalia anyways just because of convenience, since she can see the enemies through walls and stuff, but it's just a semantics thing. I mean, you shouldn't have to play as a companion just to be able to pick up items such as handgun ammo or various jewels that would add to your battle points. It was just annoying as hell to have to play as a companion when they don't even use weapons. Also, that kind of brings me up to another thing I want to talk about, which is the split screen, which is terrible. It tries to put the game in a cool cinematic view by having one screen here and then the other screen is here, but all it does is it makes the screen unnecessarily small. And if you're playing as Natalia or Moira, you kind of get shafted because, as I said, they don't use weapons, so you pretty much are only running around picking up items and pointing them out and saying, hey, look at this. So while player 1 is running around being a total monster killing badass, you're just kind of carrying their things. I'm also not a huge fan of how it just kind of zips you across the room or to where the other player is when they try to open up a door, or they press A at the part where one character lifts the other character up. Resident Evil 5 and 6, oddly enough, had it right when it came to co-op play because it gave you the little alert saying that your companion was waiting for you. However, in co-op it doesn't do that, it just kind of teleports you over there like in Halo. Because of this, it was pretty easy to miss out on some items. In terms of the gameplay, after the campaign though, there are 2 bonus missions and raid mode. Little Miss, the bonus mission that focuses on Natalia, is just one giant stealth mission, and while that sounds very unappealing, trust me when I say that the story that goes along with it is not only very good, but the gameplay itself is actually fun. My only complaint is how you can't run and hide from the enemies when they see you, because once an enemy sees you, Natalia freezes and she passes out, which results in a game over. I feel like it would have been a lot better if you were able to run and hide as an option. The other bonus mission, called The Struggle, is also something I'm not really going to go into just because of spoilers, but I liked the direction it took. I enjoyed how it showed you the survival aspect of having to live on the island. I enjoyed how you had to go and collect supplies, you had to get food, and you had to make that last, because if you didn't get as much as you needed and you didn't ration it out, you would be stuck without any ammo with like 10 enemies around you and you only have your knife. And then there's raid mode, which is sort of like mercenaries, but you're not on a timer, and there are special enemies that have different abilities, such as being super strong or being really fast. There are unlocks in the mode, such as weapon customizations or extra playable characters, but you actually have to buy everything. In the game, you get gold that is dropped by enemies, and you have to buy the next mission, you have to buy the ammo that you need, because it won't just automatically refill your ammo in between missions, and you need to buy better guns, you need to buy better gun customizations, and it was really the entire opposite of the main campaign. And it was also pretty buggy, because you see the toolbox, even you have to unlock the toolbox, but even after I unlocked the toolbox, it wouldn't spawn where the game was saying it would, no matter what I did. Also, the area key, which you needed to get to a different area, obviously, either wouldn't spawn after I defeated all of the enemies, or I would defeat an enemy and they would give me an area key to literally nothing. Raid mode was kind of a mess. I know it sounds like I'm complaining a lot, but I promise this is a very, very fun game to play that has a lot of replay value. It's also very long and not annoyingly short like a lot of games tend to be these days. I think it took me about 11 hours to get through the main campaign without touching the bonus missions. I don't like ultra realistic graphics. They kind of just weird me out, and thankfully Resident Evil Revelations 2 doesn't have that. The best way to explain it would be is if you put Resident Evil 4, the HD remake, with one of the Resident Evil movies, such as Degeneration. If you put them together and they had a beautiful love baby, that's what this game would be. There's a smooth realism to the characters that doesn't push the boundaries of the next-gen systems, but it doesn't feel blocky and awkward. However, there were noticeable frame rate drops during the cutscenes that would last either a couple seconds or they would last the entire scene. I heard this from a couple of other people, so I know that this isn't just my system, which is kind of disappointing because I know that Capcom has the budget to make something better than that. I mean, I'm not really on board with the 60 frames a second and 1080p cutscenes just because I really don't see that much of a difference, but the fact that Capcom didn't put the work into making smooth cutscenes at the resolution that it's at really kind of bothered me. Also, this isn't an issue with the game production as it is just my own personal thoughts on this. Why the hell hasn't Umbrella created a BOW that doesn't look like an amalgamation of weird mutated bulbousy limbs since like the early days? If you pay attention, the original T and G viruses had more effective weapons than anything that Umbrella has produced since then. I mean, why? Why is it that 20 years have passed since the Tyrant and the Hunters were introduced into the game, but the BOWs have only progressively devolved? Umbrella, the f*** are you doing? All in all, though, this was a very, very fun game to play. There were problems, and I would be lying if I said they didn't get under my skin at some points, especially the bit where just the game forces you to play as the companion, but in a general sense, I thoroughly enjoyed the game for what it was. The gameplay was rewarding, the story was good, and there's enough replay value in the game to justify whatever cost you would spend on the game, because I can definitely see myself just in this year going back and playing this 2 or 3 more times. Anyways, those are my thoughts on Resident Evil Revelations 2, and I want to thank the person who sent me this game. because this actually wasn't purchased by me or my husband. One of the subscribers sent this to me, and that kind of brings me to something I want to ask. See, a lot of people have asked to send me things. They want to send me a game to review, they want to send me anime to review, and I've always been really kind of iffy about it because I don't want to give out my address, and P.O. boxes do cost money. They are a little pricey just to get the one big enough for this stuff. So this is kind of where I ask, you know, if you guys are interested, I need you guys to let me know so I can kind of gauge how good of an idea this would be. Otherwise, happy unbirthday, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye! Let me start off by saying that this opening was very, very good for an anime that isn't this. The music was incredibly catchy, and the lyrics went in sync with the main plot of the anime for the most part.